This video is sponsored by Amino. The Boys! We've all been looking forward to The Boys. And why wouldn't we? With the constant amount of superhero properties forcing themselves on us like a frat boy at a college party, there's no way to escape them. They're the most successful movies, the best-selling games, and you'd be hard-pressed to find someone who didn't have a favourite superhero. Vision for me personally. It's become embedded in our culture. We've all got hero fever, which sadly can only be treated with intensive chemo. I'm so sorry. This makes 2019 the perfect time to release an irreverent superhero pastiche, and that's what Amazon's new series The Boys is. A virile, abrasive attack at the roles superheroes play in our current culture.
Did someone say Watchmen? V for Vendetta? Martial law?
Yeah, that's right. This isn't your Grandma Perkins' excuse to gawk at Chris Pratt's ass with her grandkids. This is a superhero drama for your alcoholic Uncle Keith, with rape, swearing, drugs, and social political commentary. But did The Boys live up to the standards set by the media that has preceded it? Or did Amazon do us dirty? The answer is yes. To both of them. Find out how in this video with me. But as I was watching The Boys, I started to wonder what superheroes I would create for my own comic book universe. So I got Max, we knuckled down, and each of us created our very own costume crusader. In our new Amino story, we talk through these characters and their superpowers. Purple Snitch is really great at sneaking, and his ability means that he can move like a mouse in the night. If you didn't already know, Amino is an app on your phone where you can watch thousands of stories covering from almost any subject you can think of, like comics, sweet anime, and all your favourite television favourites. Just search Nitpics to find my profile, follow me, and turn on notifications. Amino, the best thing since dams! Right off the bat, The Boys succeeds in achieving what it says on the tin, offering us a really enjoyable, clear deconstruction of the superhero genre. We're introduced to the Seven, an over-the-top parody of the Justice League. There's the Deep, who's essentially Aquaman, A-Train, who's essentially the Flash, Black Noir, who's essentially Batman, Queen Maeve, who's essentially Wonder Woman, and their leader, Homelander, who's essentially Superman and Captain America rolled up into one psychopath. On the surface, they embody these counterparts, holding the same values and sharing the same personas. We meet Annie, whose superhero alter ego, Starlight, has been invited to become the newest member of the Seven. Through her perspective, we learn that underneath the Seven's superhero bravado, they aren't as wholesome and compassionate as they seem.
Oh, for Christ's sakes. Clean yourself up. Never let them see you like this.
The Seven are exaggerated versions of characters we are incredibly familiar with. They're used as tools to poke fun at the MCU and comic book tropes, but they only act like this when the public are watching them. It's merely a stage persona, a brand. Behind these basic imitations of superheroes are flawed characters with skeletons in their closet. This duality adds a great deal of depth to the characters, as we get to see two sides to each of them. We get the sense that we're watching our favourite Marvel and DC superheroes from behind the curtain. The Boys relishes in its commentary on superheroes, but it also manages to delve into celebrity culture, as we see the disturbing repercussions that come with the type of worship these heroes receive. The popularity and fandom surrounding the MCU is mirrored in The Boys, with the vast majority of the public rallying and supporting the heroes, watching their films, buying their merchandise, and reading the comics. Not only are these superheroes physically powerful, they're also wealthy and have a high status. But not everyone's a fan of these costumed marauders. Our woke protagonists have beef and start a war on Earth's mightiest heroes. Firstly, we've got Huey. He's your standard everyman, your fish out of water. He's supposed to represent you. His girlfriend was accidentally run over by a train. A-Train. Huey's pissed. He wants answers, and now he's in The Boys. Next, we've got Butcher. He's a rude, insensitive, rugged man, and he definitely doesn't care about your feelings. I think he's meant to represent your dad. He only cares about one thing: revenge. His sweet, beautiful, angelic wife Becca mysteriously disappeared after working with Homelander, and now Butcher wants his head on a pike. But he can't do that without Frenchie, a man who's made a career out of killing superheroes. He's a loose cannon, he's always on drugs, and he might be the ideal partner for you. But act fast because someone has an eye on him. Kimiko, the quiet refugee. She might not say a word, but she can sure kick your ass. She has superpowers, making her the muscle man of The Boys. And then lastly, there's Mother's Milk. He's an old friend of Butcher's and has the most to lose, but also the least to gain. I don't love him, but I do like him. Each of these characters are performed memorably, with confidence, and the writing is witty enough that you feel like each of them get a moment to shine. They go around kidnapping, murdering, drinking and bickering with each other. It's all good crack, and the strength of the boys really is the boys. They're a pathetic group of underdogs, and it's incredibly cathartic to cheer them on in their war to dethrone the pretentious and privileged superheroes, humiliating and destroying as much as they can in their path. But our protagonists aren't simply vindictive meatheads. The Boys works hard to flesh out each of the boys, allowing the characters to surprise you with unpredictable moments of tenderness and empathy. At one point, Huey kills someone for the first time, which affects him psychologically, as you'd expect. But you'd also expect the hyper-masculine Butcher and Frenchie to just shrug it off and focus on the next task ahead. However, they instead treat the aftermath as if Huey's just had a breakup or a rough bender, cleaning the mess up for him and approaching him with kindness. It's moments like this that can become the most memorable, as the Boys regularly taps into the more human aspects of its characters, showing that masculinity can be more than just chokeholds and pile drivers, without compromising on the laughs.
This is like that scene in The Matrix. Now, you could take the fucking red pill, right? Spend the rest of your life jacking off, or you could take the blue pill. Or was it the red pill? Anyway, take the other pill and quit being a cunt.
Which pill do you want me to take?
Just quit being a cunt, that's what I'm saying.
The Boys works as a high-budget, fast-paced drama, with an unfolding mystery and an engaging conspiracy. It succeeds in its characters and comedy, and offers a wonderful homage and pastiche to the superhero genre. I would genuinely recommend it to anyone that's even slightly interested in it. But despite enjoying much of the content that the show had to offer, when the season was over, I still had a feeling of unsatisfaction. It's this feeling that I'm going to discuss in the next slide, with spoilers. So you've been warned, Buster. Because the Boys did do us dirty. They got us all ramped up, tickling us in all the right places, teasing us with its reveals and titillating us with its form, keeping at just the right pace to raise your blood pressure up. And just at the moment when we're about to explode in euphoric joy, the Boys suddenly stops and says, "Sorry, I'm not in the mood anymore," and promptly picks up her bag and walks out the door, which, unlike with a woman, is a decision I can't respect. When I finished season 1 of The Boys, I couldn't believe it was the end of season 1 of The Boys. I was staring in disbelief at the episode list. It seems as though no effort at all was put into giving this season any sense of finality. It ends with most of our protagonists halfway through a prison break. We don't even know if they made it out, let alone if they get any kind of peace or sense of triumph. Their goal of exposing Vought has fallen through entirely, and it seems like everything they did in this season was pointless. And then there's Butcher. Every good story ever written has 3 acts. Butcher's first act is that he's a bitter man who's lost his wife, desperately seeking revenge at all costs. His second act begins when he hears about a woman who was accidentally murdered by a superhero. This launches him into an unraveling conspiracy. He learns about Compound V and gains information about a way to get to Homelander. He confronts Homelander and discovers that Becca is still alive as the mother to Homelander's secret child. This is the first time his view of the world has been challenged, and it's the most conflict Butcher has faced in the series. But this is the point that the show ends. This isn't the opening of a new narrative beat, it's the midpoint of the narrative we started with. You end the season with more questions than you get answered for, and you're just left going, oh, okay. I guess the idea is that it will just continue immediately into season 2 without any gaps or pauses. With the popularity of streaming services, shows are now binged.
Mom, get me a cider! I want to binge drink while I binge watch and binge eat! Mom, I'm a binger! Mom, help! I can't stop binging!
And the problem with binging is I think people are more willing to accept these non-endings, because this isn't even the first time this has happened to me. Take Killing Eve for example. Phoebe Waller-Bridge's spy thriller. Very well received. Give her all the awards. Get her to write the new Bond. Make the new Bond a woman! Killing Eve is a really standout show. The scenes are dynamic and the characters are very easy to fall in love with. But season 1 ends with a non-ending. Our protagonist, Eve, spends 8 episodes trying to track down the assassin, Villanelle. They share a fascination with one another. There's all this building sexual tension, and it all builds to the last episode. Eve finally tracks down Villanelle. There's a real emotional intensity as it looks like they start to get intimate, but then suddenly Eve stabs her brutally. But you can see Eve is crushed by guilt and instantly regrets it. As she's trying to help, Villanelle grabs her gun and starts shooting at Eve. This is it, boys. The final confrontation. The scene builds to an emotional high point, and then...
She has gone.
Oh. Imagine if a play or a film ended like this, with one of the characters just running away while the other one shrugs and goes, duh, oh well. This ending doesn't feel satisfying because it's not the actual ending. It's a halfway mark, a pause, a break for an intermission. But at least we've got season 2, right? Oh no. Phoebe Waller-Bridge has gone to write James Bond, and she's a woman! Now everyone's complaining about season 2 sucking balls, and now we have a story where only half of it is actually good. So I can't even recommend Killing Eve to anyone. And this could very well happen to The Boys. If the next season isn't very good, it means the second half of the story won't be good. Lost was a popular long-running show that had an active fan base, but ever since the ending came out, it has forever been labelled as garbage and not worth your time. The problem with making your narratives carry over a season is that it kills momentum, especially if it ends on a cliffhanger. How can the consequences of these big dramatic reveals have any impact when we've had 2 years of being able to wonder about what could come next? It ensures that when you get back into the fray, you're easily set up for disappointment. The way The Boys is structured leaves you with a bitter taste in your mouth, and that causes you to reflect back towards the show. Suddenly, little problems come up, which could have been overlooked if the ending had stuck, wind up becoming more prominent. Like, why did Butcher say this about Homelander?
Homelander's the exception. He doesn't drink, doesn't smoke. Man's a saint.
Butcher believes Homelander raped his wife, so why would he specifically feel the need to single out to Huey that he's the only one who's clean, when that's the character he's most focused on killing? He could just be playing his cards close to his chest, but like, you could have just not brought it up. And did anyone else get bothered at how easily the boys were able to break out of the Vought prison? You're one of the biggest corporations, I presume, in the world, yet you can't even afford to put 2 armed guards in front of your incredibly flimsy looking cage. What about a camera? Or even this moment when Kimiko breaks A-Train's leg. Aren't you going to finish him off? You're just going to leave him there? But why? You have never shown any reservations about killing people before. He's your main opposition. You won't get this chance again. Do you really want to tell me that these prison guards deserve to die more than A-Train? His bone is poking out of his leg. He could easily die of blood loss without medical support. So if you're going to save him, you should probably call an ambulance. Oh, but I guess you're saving that for when he has a heart attack. It seems like Huey's real empathetic when Annie is around. Speaking of Annie, for a show that is trying to be a little subversive and postmodern, her relationship with Huey feels a little by the numbers and predictable. For a show that enjoys exploring the duality of characters and framing them in the morally grey, the romance in this feels pretty idealised to the point where it seems at odds with the rest of what the show is offering. Whilst I was watching, none of this felt too bad, because I was hopeful that the show was leading to a conclusion of some type, a type of satisfying resolution. I was hoping it to feel worth it, but it doesn't address any of the conflict it set up, and it leaves our characters dangling in suspended animation. It just fucks me off a bit, okay? And I suppose you can call me entitled, or impatient, but if something asks for you to commit 8 hours of your time, it needs to reward your commitment with something that feels fulfilling. It can't keep giving you all this build up without offering some kind of payoff. It doesn't do you clean, man. And if it's not doing you clean, then it's probably doing you dirty. In the beginning, it's all fun and games. You're on top of the world, but the fun is short-lived because The Boys has commitment issues. And most likely you'll be left lonely and unfulfilled. And for me, I'm not the kind of guy who goes for a one-night stand show. I'd much rather have a show that I can really settle down with. But what do you think of The Boys? Let me know down below, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe. I'd like to thank Amino again for sponsoring the last 2 uploads, and I'm interested in what you guys think about our superhero characters Pebble Snitch and Catbloke. I'd also like to thank my patrons for their continued support. If you are a regular fan of our content, you might want to invest in a Nitpicks t-shirt. We wanted to make something that looked good and could be appreciated by anyone. We ship them directly from our house and they've been made with love. Speaking of making things with love, if you didn't know, we also have a podcast, Bleeding on the Page, where we discuss film and TV and perform our own comedy scripts for your approval. So far we've done a sci-fi story, a dystopian British story and a sitcom. Thank you so much for watching this video. You are all my version of The Boys.